Welcome back. Recently in a tournament on Chessdotcom, I played two very tough, intense games against the same opponent. And in one of them, I knew, or I was pretty sure that I knew, at which point that I went ahead and gained the advantage. It was still very tough to win because my opponent was rated a little bit higher than me and apparently had a lot of experience in endgames. But in that one, I only made one mistake, so I'm not going to go through and evaluate the entire thing. But in the second one, I also was pretty sure I knew the point at which I went ahead, but that one turned out I had a total of 10 mistakes and blunders combined. So I'm going to go through that one and try to figure out what I should have done instead of those moves. But I'll show you the point in the first game at which I went ahead. Let's just take a look. Now, Chess.com has changed something recently, and despite having turned off the feedback and the other annotations in settings, it's still going to show which moves are blunders and mistakes. But in the game, I didn't know that this next move was a blunder. Used to, you could turn those annotations off, but apparently you can't anymore. Now here, I think what they should have done is play this knight back here to defend this pawn. Now at this point, I didn't know that that was a blunder, but I did see that my opponent had two undefended pawns. They had their D pawn was undefended and their B pawn. I think I probably should have taken the D pawn now, and then I'm not sure what I would have done after that, but I decided to, since they didn't move to protect it yet, I decided to go ahead and threaten their other unprotected pawn. Now, the eval bar drops a little bit there, but I still have a minus 1.6 advantage. And here I wasn't sure, were they going to drop this back to defend this pawn? Were they going to move a rook over to defend the B pawn? Or would they move the pawn up to defend that? Well, what they did instead was attacked my queen. Now, again, during the game, I didn't know that that was a mistake. For all I knew, it was their best move at the time. And of course, my queen is undefended, and I didn't want to bring it back, which is pretty passive. So I decided to trade off the queens, and then I would still have these two undefended pawns that I was aiming at. So I did take their queen, which forced them to take back, and now I have my choice of pawns. Now here, I think maybe I should have taken this one first, since I had just moved the rook over there. And also, they can very easily defend this in at least two ways. But I took the other one since they had made no move to defend the D pawn. I went ahead and took it, and that turns out to be an inaccuracy, but I still have about a -2 advantage. And my opponent came after the bishop, which I used to take the knight, which damaged their pawn structure. That allowed me to go in here and ensure that I would win one of these two pawns. And from that point on, I knew I had a lead, and I went on to win the game, although it was very tough, and it went to 70 moves before my opponent resigned in this position when I had a passed pawn 2 squares from promotion, and they had no way to get to it, not in time. So they were pretty sure by that point that I would win. Now, let's take a look at the second game. The second game might take a second to look at. I've mentioned in a few of my recent videos that Chess.com has been having quite a few bugs and site failures, and apparently they've done one in the middle of my recording. So I wish that they would work more on this. Whoever they've got, the different techs or coders that they have creating new bots like Kittens and Mittens and Megans, and I wish they would maybe draw a few of them over here and work on this. And maybe work on the part where I can't turn off the annotations when I'm analyzing a game. I'm going to click refresh and see if this will load. Oh, well, we got a different picture. I think that guy's name is Danny, but I could be wrong because I'm not very good at recognizing people. Danny is trying to turn the lights back on at Chess.com, and it looks like Danny succeeded. Well, I've pulled up the game review for my second game against the same opponent, and here on the side it shows I had 6 mistakes, 3 blunders, and 1 missed win. And of course, on Chess.com, a missed win is just a type of blunder. So that's a total of 10. All right, well, I'm going to switch over to the analysis board, turn off the feedback, make sure that everything here is turned off as well. And I'm going to go through and figure out what I should have done instead. And hopefully the site won't break while I'm recording. All right. All right, we've reached the point of my first mistake. Now, I wasn't sure what exactly my plan was other than keeping my opponent from castling. So far, that's what I had this bishop over here for. I didn't know that this was an inaccuracy. I just knew that I was trying to keep my opponent from castling with this bishop. Earlier, I had wanted to move that pawn first and then put my bishop there, but I decided that this was a more immediate thing that I needed to do. As long as I could keep something on this dark square diagonal here, my opponent couldn't castle. I don't know why that's a mistake. Backing up, I had a +2 advantage at this point. If I had, probably I should have castled here, Is that what is that what I should have done instead? Or possibly move this bishop back to line up down there, but no, they've got that square defended twice. Of course, it would only be defended once if I let them castle. So, be that, maybe this. I'm going to go ahead and say it was castling. I'm going to turn on the lines and see what I should have done. No, I should have played rook to d1. Okay. And castling queenside was my second best move. Okay, well, I wouldn't have castled queenside in this situation because of the missing b-pawn. Stockfish, of course, knows lots more about chess than I do, or I should probably more accurate to say can calculate much further than I can, and can calculate a wider variety of moves than we can. Whether it knows more about chess itself is debatable, but it can certainly calculate better, and it can figure out a way where in this position, castling queenside would have worked out well for me. I guess maybe this bishop could eventually function as the b-pawn, but I try not to use bishops as pawns if I can help it. And castling was my third best move. But it's enough worse that from the first move that probably also would have been counted as an inaccuracy or a mistake. Okay, so rook to d1 here. I guess I get that, lining up my rook with their queen. I don't know. I don't know that I would have played that in a game, but I do know that several times in recent games, rook to d1 has been my best move, and I just didn't see it. It would have made more sense to me to put the rook here on the open file or the semi-open file, because that's just a general principle of chess that we learn. I guess one thing about d1 is that it gets behind this pawn and then would allow me to push it. But they're about to put their bishop here. There would have been no other reason for them to play b6. They're about to put their bishop on b6, and then they would have three pieces guarding that square, so it wouldn't have made sense to move the rook over trying to push my d-pawn. I don't know. But given the chance to play this turn over again, I think I would have just castled, and the lines say that that's not horrible. It wouldn't have been my best move, but it would have been better than what I played, because this took us down to zeros. Right at even. By the way, you can't see it on the screen because of my video title, but I'm only getting Stockfish 11 today. So that might be another problem that Chess.com is having right now. In fact, you know what? Let's just analyze this on a site that works. All right, I've got that exact same game copied into a site that actually is working right now, and it gives me Stockfish 14 plus, which is better than 11. And hopefully this will all work out. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to the point at which I made a mistake. By the way, this says I had 5 mistakes and 4 blunders, so not the exact same count as the other site. Okay, we've got this far. I took the pawn, they took the knight. They jumped in there, they jumped back, prevented them from castling, and then I put the knight in there. Okay, see, this site counts that as inaccurate. All right, let's keep going. You know what? Let's not keep going. Let's see what it says I should have done on this site. The site also says rook to d1 is my best move, 1.8, plus 2, which is about the same as the other site. But here on Lichess, it says castling. Okay, it's changing its mind. Castling queenside is my second move, my second best move, or third best. And queen to e2 is one of the top 3 moves. But castling kingside is not among them. Okay. So that's quite a bit different, but we're going to keep going on this site. We're going to turn off the lines, and we know that was a mistake, and I'm going to look for my next mistake. Okay, it appears we have found it. I realize that the mistakes are actually highlighted in the move list on the right, so I can't get around that. But I did see the eval bar drop. It probably says what was best right there, doesn't it? I'm going to try not to look at that. Okay, I can't get around that. I'm having a hard time finding a good place where I can just look at the moves and see what I should have done instead. What should I have done instead here? I thought this was pretty transparent. My opponent's plan, which Stockfish says was a mistake, that their next move was going to be b5. That would have been a pawn fork. I would have ended up losing one of these 2 pieces if I didn't move one of them now. Now, I don't know which one I should have moved. Bringing my queen, what did I play, queen to c2? That was a mistake. Well, I thought if I brought my queen to b3, they could still play this, and then I couldn't bring my bishop that way, so I would have to bring it this way, and then they wouldn't be protecting each other anymore. And I kind of liked that all my diagonal moving pieces were pointing that way toward their king side, But I didn't mind bringing this queen back because it's still pointing down there. And then, of course, my 2 bishops are still over here pointed at the king side. In fact, once I brought the queen back here, I was thinking maybe I would bring the bishop back here to d3 to be aiming down there at h7, now that they've moved this knight over here and their knight's not guarding h7 anymore. So even if they did end up being able to castle at some point, I would be attacking that square already. But that was a mistake to get out of the pawn fork. So what should I have done? I'm going to guess it wasn't moving this bishop someplace because it's well positioned where it is. And of course, if I moved it here, they could have then threatened that bishop. And it would have been taken if it went there, 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 or there. And down here, then it's not doing anything. Down here, it's disconnecting my rooks. I guess I could have moved this bishop first. And then when they played the pawn, I could have brought the queen back. Or should I have gone ahead and traded off the knights? Because if I had taken if I had taken the knight, that's not check, and it's not endangering anything more than that knight, so they still could have played this. Okay, then it must have been the bishop first, or moving the queen to b3. But that doesn't make any sense to me, because then when they played this and I had to move the other bishop, they would be, okay. I'm going to guess it was bishop to d3, turn on the line here. No, it was not. It was rook a to e1. Okay, remember a couple of moves ago, it wanted me to move it to d1, but now it wants me to move it to e1 to, I guess, to protect this knight, which is already protected, or f to e1. It definitely wanted me to have a rook on e1, is what Stockfish wanted. And in a move, in the third best move, which would have been counted as a mistake or a blunder, f4 is the next best. But it's so far back that would have been counted as a mistake. But the move I played instead took me down to minus 0.3, giving my opponent a very slight advantage. Very interesting. What would rook a to e1 have done? That would have given me +7. But then they still would have played this, right? No, not necessarily. It's one of their 2 best moves. But queen to g5 is actually their best move right now. Okay, I get that. They would have been threatening a mate by playing queen to g5, so I would have had to deal with that no matter what else was happening. But I still would have had +7. Okay, but I don't think my opponent would have played that, probably because it's so easily countered. Let's say they went ahead with their plan. They thought, I didn't see the fork coming. So they went ahead and played it because that was their plan. And that gives me a +7, still +7 advantage. Now, if I had gotten into this situation because I didn't see the pawn fork coming and I just played rook to e1 because I'd heard you're supposed to put a rook on e1, and then I saw this, I would have moved my queen probably to c2, which is where I had moved it that it was such a big blunder. But Stockfish is saying that's not among my best moves, and that now would even be a worse blunder than it was when I played it. My best move would have been queen to b3, but knight captures f7 would have still given me a +4. Leaving my queen hanging, taking this, which is, of course is a fork, and I assume then they would take with their king. But queen to b3 is my best move. Now, wouldn't they then take the bishop? Let's see, queen to b3. It says they probably wouldn't take the bishop. Well, Stockfish wouldn't take the bishop, but my opponent would, because that's the whole reason they moved this pawn here. So what would I do if they took the bishop? Oh, I would take their bishop. Oh. Well, I didn't see that, so it's possible that my opponent wouldn't have seen that. I would have taken their bishop, which leaves their rook hanging, so I assume they need to move their knight someplace? No, because that knight, I could just take it if they moved that knight there. They would take this knight first. Wait, wouldn't that just give me the rook, though? If they just took this, couldn't I now just take the rook? It says that's not even my best move. All right, my best move is to take this knight, and then they would get this out of the way, right, to protect their rook. But no, they would play c5. Really? If I were playing with the black pieces right now, I think I would play here, because not only does that threaten this rook, it protects their rook by having the queen see it. But let's say that they did play their best move right now, which is c5, and then I would still not take the rook. I could capture c5 with my rook, or play d5, which is just as good, or take the rook. Okay, that's my third best move, but it's still +8. Okay, that's probably what I would do. Is take the rook because they didn't move to protect it. Okay, then they would move to protect it. Really. But it's gone now, so I don't understand. Knight to d7 is their absolute best move. Well, I think I know why they played that, because it blocks this so they can castle now, which is their second best move. I think if I were my opponent, I would castle now. And then I would take c5 with my rook, though, not with my bishop. Okay. Well, I'm about 8 moves into this hypothetical situation that I had no idea, because I played here instead to get out of that pawn. But that was a blunder. Big time. All right. My opponent went ahead and played b5, which was a blunder for them for some reason. I don't know what they should have played instead. Maybe they should have taken this knight. Maybe they should have played c5 there to block my bishop so they could castle. I don't know. But they played that, which allows me to move my bishop. And I just saw in the move list that that was my next blunder. So, okay. So that was a blunder. But wow. You've already heard my plan where I said once I brought this here, I could bring this here, and both of them would be pointed down there at h7. Okay, but that was a blunder. Leave the bishop there. What should I have done instead? Let me guess. It was rook a to e1. Oh, no. It was taking this pawn. Okay, that's my only move. That's not a blunder. Capturing on f7 with my knight, which, of course, would allow them to capture back, but that would expose their king and permanently prevent them from castling. Okay, so I've got a piece hanging, and it wants me to give up a different piece currently. Okay, I give up a different piece. I'm pretty sure they need to take back, because if they take my bishop, I'm going to get their queen, right? So they're going to take it. Okay, now what do? I got to get my bishop out of danger, right? No. I have to play queen to f5 check. What? That's f5, right? Oh, that pawn's pinned. Oh, sorry. Hopefully I didn't blow out the microphone there. I have it set because I normally talk quietly and I don't make huge noises, but okay. I see that because they didn't take my bishop. So that pawn is pinned. Putting the knight there dragged the king into the line of this bishop. So that pawn is pinned. So I could check there, but I don't think I would have seen that during the game. But I saw it after knowing that that was my best move, because I just seen on Stockfish. Okay, so the king has to get out of the way, or they can block. No, or they can block with the queen. Queen block is the best move. If they block with the knight, I have mate in 8. If they move the king back, I have mate in 2. Oh, because this pawn's not defended. I get that. They move the king back, I have this, and they have to go there. No, they can't go there because of my bishop. They have to block with the queen, and that's mate. Oh, wow. Let's say I had seen that that pawn was pinned, and I had checked here, and my opponent had seen that going back would have led to that mate. So they blocked with their queen instead. Okay, I'm still at +5 here. Okay, Stockfish jumped around. Then I would have taken here. Oh, because my queen's guarding it, so the king can't capture it. And yeah, because my queen's guarding, and their queen is pinned by my queen. Okay, so check. So now they have to move out of check. And those 2 spots are covered by my bishops. 3 spots are covered by my bishops. Queen. So they have to go back now. Okay, so they go back, and I don't take their queen yet. Apparently, I check here, and they would take, I assume. And then I would, rook a to e1 is check. Okay, so they have to go there or there. Their best move by far is to go that way. Okay. Wait, now I'm going to give up another piece. Oh, I'm not giving up another piece because my rook is guarding that square. Oh my goodness. Forking the king and the queen with my protected bishop. And if they go back there, I would take their queen with my bishop. If they take here, of course, then I would take it with my rook. Okay, at least I saw that far. And then they would take with their king. And then I would have another check. Oh my goodness. Wow, that blew open fast. Okay. So me moving back here was not necessarily me getting into danger. It was me not seeing this huge opportunity and tactical sequence due to the lining up of my bishops this way, which I had put there, granted. And taking here would have removed the defense of that pawn, which set up a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. So yeah, I should have taken that pawn. Well, I'm probably not going to see that during the game. And talking about it so long has made this video go on longer than I intended. Okay, let's turn off the lines. So that was the blunder that took away all my advantage. All right. My opponent took my knight, which was probably a good move, and I think I should take back with the pawn. Okay. Yeah, that was just a transparent checkmate attempt. So, oh wait, I had a better move. Oh, I should have blocked with the bishop? No, it was my best move. F3 was my best move. What? Wait, or F4. Oh, because then my queen would be guarding that. But bishop to e4 would have been a huge blunder. Okay, so I played my best move, so why did I lose all the advantage? Interesting. Okay, Okay, I still have a very slight advantage. Well, they took that pawn, which was undefended, but that was an inaccuracy on their part. So now did I play rook to f to e1? Okay, or rook a to e1. I played one of the rooks to e1. They moved their queen. They're still lining up here, but now that my pawn has moved, my queen is defending my g-pawn. Okay. I moved my... That was a mistake. All right. Well, I put my rook on a semi-open file. What should I have done instead? Should I have put this bishop here? I bet that was it. Let me go back. When their queen was over there, putting the bishop on e4 would have been a blunder, but now putting it there is my best move. Well, at least I guessed it. Because now their queen is not there anymore. Because before, back here, they could have just taken it. And then if I had taken back with my queen, they could have taken there. Okay, I get why that would have been a blunder then. But now it's the best move. Because it's the best move because if they take, I take back with my queen, I guess. And then I'm threatening their rook, so they'd have to move their rook. And then I don't know what I would do after that. Okay. But anyway, that was a mistake. And then my opponent blundered. Why was that a big blunder? See, I didn't realize that. I thought I was losing here. I thought I was about lost because once they took it, I realized, oh, my G-pawn is pinned. I can't take it. Now, I'm not worried about mate because when I moved the F-pawn, I knew that my queen was guarding my G-pawn. So I knew it wasn't mate, but they've picked off another pawn. They're 3 pawns ahead. I'm missing my B-pawn. I'm missing all 3 of these. My opponent's only missing 1 pawn. So they're 3 pawns up now. And I can't take this. So it's just going to go back on the next turn. So why was that such a big blunder? I don't know. Did I take advantage of it? I did not. All right. I was up plus something here, and then I went back to zeros. And so instead of playing c4, which was a mistake, I should have played something else. Wait, was it bishop to e4 again? I'm going to guess that. It was bishop to e4. Or h4. Really? What would h4 have done? Wouldn't they have just taken it? And then I would have... Oh, then I would have gotten their bishop. Okay. But they wouldn't have to take it. They could just move up. Or back. Oh, no, they're not going to move back. But they could move forward if I played h4, right? If I played h4, why wouldn't they just come forward one? It says their best move is to take it and give up the bishop. But I think if I was them, I would have just done this. And then I would have played bishop to f5 then. Oh, because that pawn is pinned. These are some complex blunders. I don't feel bad for missing these. Come on. I mean, that's an okay move, but they would just take it. And then I would take back and I would be still down 3 pawns. Like I said, I get that, but I don't get h4 was one of my best moves. My idea here was to try to start breaking open some stuff there, give my rook a completely open file. Yeah, I don't feel bad about that being a mistake because this over here was static. I thought there wasn't anything I could do about it. I'm guarding the G-pawn with my queen. All my other pieces were safe. Okay. That was a blunder on their part. Okay. Well, I don't know what they should have done instead, and I'm not concerned with that. I'm concerned with what I should have done instead. Okay, I'm up +2 because of their moving their bishop, and that gave them the advantage. Is that because it finally allowed them to castle? But see, it didn't allow them to castle because their queen's in danger. I thought that was pretty slick. Sliding this bishop back in here to threaten their queen. So the queen had to move somewhere, and then I could put it back over there. Oh, I guess their queen could have gone here, and then I couldn't put it back over. Oh. Well, what should I have done instead of threatening their queen? Was it bishop to e4 again? Or was it just taking that pawn? Okay. The reason I didn't take the pawn is because I thought, they'll take back, and then if I take back with the bishop, they'll take back with this pawn, and then this bishop's undefended. So I thought, why not move this first, and then take the pawn, because then my bishop won't be in danger anymore. But instead, I should have played bishop to e4. Okay, that's not a correct arrow. I should have played bishop to e4, or rook b to d1 to maintain +2. Okay, well, I only guessed bishop to e4 because it was the right move the last couple of turns. But again, I'm down 3 pawns. Even exchanges don't appeal to me at this point. Yeah, I'm sorry. Why is that so good? Because they're going to take it, right? Yes, they are. And then if I take back, which, right, that's my best move, then they're going to move their rook because their rook's in danger. Everybody knows that. Okay. Now what? Now h4. I'm not going to see that because I only have 2 little pawns protecting my king right now. But h4 is the only move that keeps me at +3. No, rook b to d1 now. Rook b to d1. Okay, well, let's say I saw a completely open file there. And their best move is c6 or c5 or b4. Not taking this pawn, b4. Putting an unprotected pawn in front of the bishop where you can just take it. Okay, but let's say they saw their best move, which was this. Then what do I, now h4. Okay, I think the lesson I've learned from this blunder was that just play h4. Whatever's going on, as long as you're not in check and can legally play h4, that you should. Shouldn't bring your bishop back to threaten the queen, to get it out of danger of this. You should just play h4 all the time, even if they can just take it. All right, that's not helpful, Stockfish. Okay, I did that. That was a blunder. They moved their queen over there, which probably wasn't their best move. See, if I were them, I would have moved it back. That way I couldn't put my bishop back here because then they could take the bishop. But they did that. So did I put my bishop back where it was? I did put my bishop back where it was. Oh, and that was apparently my best move at the time. Okay. All right. Well, I finally played bishop to e4 and it was a blunder. I finally played bishop to e4 and it was a blunder. The reason I did it is because they moved that knight, so there was nothing guarding the bishop now. So it had to take me. See, before it didn't have to take me. That was the thing before, even if I had seen it. I don't know if I saw it or not. I don't remember. But if I had seen it, they could have just left our bishop there because it was protected by the knight and then done something else. But now they kind of have to take me. And again, they're up 3 pawns. But the reason that I did it here is because of this rook. I thought if they took, I would take with the rook, which would aim at their queen and protect this pawn incidentally. But they took it, and I took, which was my plan, and they moved their queen out of danger. So what should I have done instead of playing bishop to e4 this time? I'm looking all over the board. I don't see it. Again, I didn't want to take this pawn because I thought they would take back, and then this bishop would be in danger. That was the whole reason that I'd moved the bishop in the first place, but then I didn't know what else to do, so I put it back. I have no idea. I'm just going to click the lines. What should I have done? I should have taken the pawn. Okay. And then they would have taken back with their pawn, and now I have to move this bishop. No, I don't. Oh, now their bishop's undefended. Wow. That's why they're moving the knight was such a bad move, because it undefended the bishop. And I played here because the knight moved, but instead, I should have taken here. They would have taken back, but then I would have taken their bishop. But then wouldn't they have taken mine? It says they would. Okay. And so I'm still down 3 pawns, in case you're counting. Then I would take this. Oh, I would take this pawn now. And then, but then they would castle because my bishop's gone. Now they can castle. Or they could check me. If they checked me, I would just move out of check, and then I don't know what they would do. But then they would castle. So castling's their best move. Okay, so they castle. Oh, and then I get the knight. Oh, wow. And then I would be up a pawn. Oh, wow. Well, I'm up a piece and down 2 pawns. Okay. All right, so back here, instead of me doing the move that was my best move, the last 3 turns, or whatever, I finally saw that their bishop was undefended, that they would have to take me, and then I could chase off their queen. But that was a blunder. Okay. Okay, so they did that, and I did that. Now they have to move their queen, which they did. And I took that pawn finally, and they took back, and now I have to move the bishop. So I did. Oh, that was inaccurate. Well, I knew I was down here. I mean, during the game, I knew I was down here. What should I have done? Not move the bishop, it says. Or I should have moved the bishop somewhere different. Should I have threatened the queen again? Is that it? Nope. Oh, you saw h4. I told you, when you're not sure what to do, play h4. Oh my goodness, I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start playing h4, especially in blitz and bullet, because those aren't important to me. h4. Because now the rook protects h4, and then they would move their queen. But then what? Okay. So let's say they move their queen to d6, for example, and then I would play h5. What? Well, I could play h5, but wouldn't they just take it? Okay, let's say I played h5 and they took it because any reasonable person would. Then I would play rook to e3. That's my best move. Nope, just giving up this bishop. All right. Well, let's say I didn't see rook to e3 because that doesn't make any sense to me. But queen capturing that c7 pawn is -4. Oh, but I'm still way behind though. So, okay, wait, I'm at -5 playing my best moves. Okay, going back here, I was at -4. And moving the bishop put me at -3. So how was that inaccurate? Oh no, it's -5 now. Okay, so it wasn't that inaccurate if I end up at -5 anyway. Okay. Well, I'm not worried about that inaccuracy then. Okay, they threw that pawn forward, which gave a little bit of the advantage back to me, and I brought the bishop down to threaten the queen again, and it moved. Okay. Then I moved the other rook over, so the rooks are protecting each other, because right now, if I need to move my queen for some reason, like if these pawns get too close, the rooks are protecting each other. That seemed like a pretty good plan. They finally castled, going after the obvious pawn. I expected them to move it, but they didn't. So they just gave it to me, right? Yeah, okay. And then they went there. I don't know why they went there. But again, at this point in the game, I remember feeling like I was probably going to lose. But the two games were simultaneous. I was playing in the other game where I knew I had won already, the first one I showed. And so I thought, well, I'll lose this one, but I'm winning the other one. And I went after the rook. They moved their rook. I moved my queen. They came after the bishop, so I moved the bishop. Wait, that was a blunder? Okay. Whoa, what should I have done instead of a4? Should have done something instead of a4. Should I have threatened their queen? Guess I could have threatened their queen that way. Well, if a4 was wrong, then I assume it was one of these. My idea was to get it here, where my queen would protect it. And then if it went one more square, my bishop could be protecting it over there. Thought that was pretty smart. But yeah, I'm going to guess it was moving one of the rooks to threaten the queen somehow. Rook to e5. Okay. Definitely not rook to f1. That was the first one I saw, but definitely not that. For some reason, that would have been a mistake, but rook to e5 would have been good. Then they would have had to go to g... Well, make up your mind, Stock. g6 or c2. One of those two squares. Oh, and then I could have gotten that pawn. Okay, but I was still down 2 pawns at this point, because I just picked off that one. But I'm down 2 pawns right now. Okay, that would have given me 1 more pawn, but then they probably would have traded rooks. I don't know. It was moving one of the rooks to threaten the queen, but that one specifically. Not this one, and not this one. But that one specifically because it also hits the pawn after the queen moves. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. But I played a4 instead. I have a passed pawn. I'm blockading their passed pawn, right? And that one. But this one I can protect. My queen's protecting it now. My bishop will protect it there. My queen will protect it there. So I thought I was doing okay with this passed pawn idea. But they made a mistake of trying to go over here and blockade this passed pawn. Actually, I didn't even see that then. I saw it now. At the time, this is what I saw. Look at there. What if the knight went to d6? That would seriously hurt my feelings, because these 2 pieces would be getting forked. Okay, but I decided to threaten the rook. I mean, to threaten the queen with a rook. But that was a mistake. What should I have done instead? Should I have done this again? Rook to e5, is that it? Nope, not at all. Rook to g4. That's the only move that maintains equality. Rook to g4. Okay, I get that. Look at there. That's some serious rook and bishop image right there. Okay. I need to see, I'm blind to my bishops. I still am after a year and a half of doing this channel, or whatever it's been. Still blind to those diagonals. Rook to g4, and the rook would have been protected by the queen temporarily. But wouldn't they have just moved that pawn forward? Yeah, it says they would. And then I would drop my rook back to g3, and then but then I would be out of the fork, because this rook would be gone. Okay. Well, that makes sense. What I did was this. Okay. Now, I saw the eval bar jumped, but this is a point in this game, and move 34, where I thought, wait, I think I have a chance. Because here I did see rook to g4. And the reason I saw that is because I had just done some puzzles where the windmill was involved. I don't remember if it was a daily puzzle or maybe some random puzzle. I think it was a daily puzzle where there was a windmill. And in chess, if you're not familiar, a windmill is usually with a bishop and a rook pointed at the pawn right in front of the king, and you take it with the rook with check. The king has to move over, but it has to move into the path of the bishop. So when you move that rook, the king's in check again. So you can move that rook anywhere. You can even just take the pawn in front of their rook. Your rook's not in danger because their king's in check. So the king has to go back. Then you move the rook over again. And their king has to move again. Then you move your rook somewhere else. And you can sometimes wipe out just a ton of pieces that way. And I saw it. So I didn't know that specifically was a blunder. But for the first time in this game, I thought I had an advantage. I didn't know about all those advantages earlier where I apparently had like +5 and stuff like that. So I played rook to g4 looking at the windmill. And I thought they might play here. Anyway, even though my rook's gone and there's no fork, they might play here to get out of this. But I I remember thinking during the game, if they threatened my queen here, I can take their queen. It's not check yet, but they won't take my rook because then my queen gets out. So they'll take my queen, right? That's what I thought. So they'll take my queen. Then I'll have the windmill because my bishop's sitting right here and it's check. So that's when I was talking about when the king would have to move over, I would take this pawn. It would be open up the check from the bishop. So the king would have to come back. And then I would check again with my rook. And then the king would have to go back to the corner. And then I would bring the rook back here and win that knight. And wouldn't you know it, that's what happened. Oh, I took the rook first. Isn't that cool? So I'm a piece ahead. I went from being 3 pawns down to being a piece ahead because I spotted the windmill tactic and my opponent didn't see it. Okay, now I don't know if every single one of those was the best move, but I did know that playing the rook to g4 on their queen was the best. Now, do I have any other mistakes in this game? I'm ready to end this. I have an inaccuracy way down there on move 63. But since you've made it this far, there's no reason not to just click through the rest of these moves to show you what happened. You saw I picked off another pawn there. I'm advancing my passed pawn. Now, my opponent played very well through this phase of the game. I was nervous at points that I was going to mess up. I wasn't sure. I was willing to sacrifice my rook for their rook because obviously I have a whole nother piece. Also, I really wanted to get an H pawn down there because my bishop is guarding the dark square in the corner. I didn't want it to be the G pawn because I don't have anything guarding that light square. But regardless, I started moving those 2 pawns. I brought my king around. I had to move my rook back because it was in danger. Came in here, started advancing that pawn. They got in front of it. So they took and I took. See, I was willing to give up the rook for their rook and a pawn because I've got a whole nother piece now and they have no way to stop me. But for some reason, they kept playing. And I guess they thought I didn't know how to do this. And again, I was willing to give up my bishop, but they didn't go for my bishop. They just came for these pawns for some reason. And I just guided them down and there they resigned. Before I say goodbye, just to summarize, my feeling about this is that I think I learned a couple of things. I think I got my thinking wrapped around some stuff, but I did learn that some of the blunders, quote unquote blunders and mistakes in this are beyond my level. I don't think, like with the queen fork, when I said I should have just left my queen and bishop there for the pawn fork, I mean, over there on the B file, when they were going to play B4, B5, whatever it was. They were so clearly telegraphing to me that they were about to play that B pawn to fork my bishop and queen that it seemed so obvious to move my queen out of there. But instead, I should have just played rook to F1 or E1, which was behind a pawn. Let them play that B pawn, which it said they wouldn't, but I know they would. And then move my queen back to B3, knowing that if they took my bishop, I would get theirs. Learning that and working my way through it, I think is one way that I'm going to get better. And maybe some of you can also use that to get better as well. But I will just say that at my level, I think that's a little beyond me. And I think that even if I somehow spotted a couple of those moves or played them by accident, my opponent wouldn't respond in the expected way that Stockfish was saying that they would. And then I would know what to do in the next move. And I would instead of blundering on the move that I blundered, I would have blundered on the next move because I didn't understand the sequence. I can't calculate 10 or 12 moves down the line, or even 5, like Stockfish can. We'll see you next time.